Hello, everyone. I'm very excited to meet you here today. I got a really, really special treat for y'all. Y'all may remember my cousin Sarah passed away late last year, and I had a lot of good memories with her of just conversations we've had and art projects that we've teamed up on, and just the various things that we talked about. And in the last week or so, I've been going over to her house a lot and picking up stuff, random things of hers that I wanted to give a home to so that they didn't just get, discarded. A lot of it's really precious stuff for me. I mean, she kind of had a role of sort of a high priestess in my life. So, if I had some little trinket or something I wanted to be more magically charged or spiritually empowered, I'd give it to her to handle a little bit and come up with some kind of a blessing to put over it. That kind of thing. We had fun together. Uh, but a while back, she wanted to get into radio and to learn about radio and, broadcast, things like that. And it was something I couldn't help her much with because I don't use radios a lot, but I do have a good science background, so I could explain a lot of the science behind electromagnetic radiation. Uh, and this overlapped with our shared interest in tarot cards. Tarot is this ancient system of using cards to predict the future. It sounds pretty hokey, but if you read up on it, the idea is basically that a deck of tarot cards acts as a meta model, is basically a structured model that can encompass any thing that happens, is basically a very sophisticated collection of symbols that the interactions between the different symbols can encompass any kind of phenomenon or interaction or relationship or what have you. If you think about it, the four suits of the minor arcana is, you've got wands and pentacles and cups and swords. Those actually stand for the different elements of, the traditional classic European element system. So you've got the physical universe with those four suits, and then you've got the major arcana, which is 22 cards that basically envelops non-physical phenomenon, different weird things that are, different manifestations of spiritual attainment or conditions or changes in situation, that kind of thing. So I got the idea of making an electromagnetic based uh, uh, tarot deck, because the idea being, if you understand all of the cards in a tarot deck, then you can basically be ready for whatever the universe has to throw at you spiritually. I thought it'd be a neat idea to make a tarot deck that could encompass everything you need to know to understand science stuff. And Major Arcana is supposed to have 22 cards, and I've only come up with four cards into it, which I'm pretty proud of myself because coming up with Major Arcana is kind of a project. So four of them was a bit of an accomplishment. If you have any ideas of other ones that could fit into this project, I'd love to hear what you think. But I wanted to share with you because honestly, I'm very proud of these. This is just as some small random thing I did for a cousin of mine. This ended up being like, dang, I'm good at this. Here's the first one. I call it the crossroads, and I got, art on one side and an explanation on the other. But the crossroads. Oh, Electromagor. Yeah, that seemed like a catchy name. Shut up. I had to come up with the stuff. All right, so the crossroads, which is backwards on my screen. I hope it's not backwards on your screen, but don't worry, I'll read it to you, so it doesn't really matter. The crossroads. Each ray of electromagnetic radiation is manifest in two parts: an electric component and a magnetic component, symmetrical yet perpendicular. Magnetism and electricity are fundamentally entwined in our universe. When electric current moves through a wire, which is supposed to be a wire, it creates a magnetic field. And reversibly, moving a wire coil through a magnetic field gives electrons enough of a push to create a current. By making current flow back and forth rapidly in a specific pattern, one can create a pattern of radio waves. Uh, while somewhere else, an antenna can be hit by those waves, causing the antenna's electrons to slosh around in a specific pattern that can be decoded based on measuring the currents that are induced in that. Can you see that? Okay. In that wire. Behold our physical world's intersection with radio reality. This is one thing I love about, I don't know if this is reality or just my own brain, but science and spirituality overlap a lot more than a lot of people give credit for. And I think that I was hoping to make this a more in depth exploration of that. Okay, here's another one. I call this one, oh, it's Electromagor Arcana, because it's the major arcana, but it's the electromagnetic major. All right, shut up. I tried. Worlds apart. All right. Our species passed through history mostly ignorant of electromagnetic radiation, and even the range of visible light we could sense, we did not understand. Even with the power of technology to finally detect these invisible wavelengths, the nature of electromagnetic radiation is paradoxical from our point of view. An immaterial vector of perpendicular electric and magnetic squiggles that behave as both particle and wave simply have no relatable equivalent in our human umwelt. Should intelligent life arise from electromagnetic rays, our world as near static particles with lasting bonds to adjacent static particles would seem just as bizarre, and life or intelligence would be just as unrealistic. And this is not really science, but you got the visible spectrum of, and then you've got just the twilight zone over here, which for most of human history is like fun stuff, right? All right, we're halfway there. Bear with me. I'm having fun. You having fun? I'm having fun. Check it out. All right. Here's another Electromagor Arcana, which I've decided to call Good and Evil. All right. It's absurd to think something as complex as electromagnetic rays can be understood by such primitive categories like good and evil. But maybe that's part of the paradox. The visible spectrum is the borderland between the safe and the dangerous. Radiation of lower frequencies lower frequencies uh, that lower frequency than red becomes infrared, which is what your body radiates as warmth. And the lower frequencies only get less dangerous, basically, in a nutshell. I'm oversimplifying. Shut up. Uh, at higher frequencies, you get at frequencies higher than violet, you get ultraviolet that cause sunburn. At higher frequencies, only get all the more dangerous to your flesh, down to your DNA. It's heavy business, man. Now, you can use X-rays for medical purposes, and enough infrared will burn you to death. But still, this oversimplified, gross simplification of good versus evil is one way to simplify a very complex world. All right, last one for us. I call this one selective reflective. Still with me? All right. If you understand how light behaves, you basically understand how all electromagnetic radiation behaves. When white light strikes a red object, which is this one right there, when white light strikes a red object, red wavelengths are reflected and the rest are absorbed. Shine white light through a green lens, which is, yeah, I guess that'll be that one right there. Uh, 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 the green wavelengths pass through and the rest of them are absorbed. A ray of light striking a surface at a shallow angle may bounce off, while it may be absorbed or pass into media if it hits it at a steeper angle. Uh, Prisms, lenses, convex dish focusing, opacity, and transparency are principles that apply to the entire electromagnetic spectrum, the only qualifier being what type of media affects which wavelengths. Which, I mean, for some people is stating the obvious, but it does feel like eldritch arcane knowledge of stuff human brains were never meant to understand. Okay, so that was neat, right? Here's the real treasure. This is the grand finale. Is when I picked this up, my sister Helen had clipped them all together and organized them, which she does. But she'd clipped together this note that Sarah had written out, and I have never seen this before in my life. Before I picked up these, this a gift that I had given her before. uh, it's titled Directing My Meditation." Uh, oh, that never mind. That's not the title. She just has, stars on it. She just jumps right into it. Directing my meditation into the narrow paths of a musician and a writer, running on hopes, faith, belief, creation, attempting as learning. Meditation is an access to parts of my consciousness. It can help me determine my body's health, mood in the moment. It is helpful ground workings. Trying to not fear the first trying fears of loving. To ride my personal waves. To take in stories. How? I think that's beautiful. I think this is like, non-traditional outsider poetry that is like I'm going to pin this up in my bedroom somewhere where I can see it when I need to remind myself to meditate. I forgot where I was going with this. But hopefully you learned something too. Good luck, everyone. Stay warm out there.